Lingering questions this Tuesday night about what's actually in that deal between the U.S. and Iran.
It's a good document.
When the Strait of Hormuz could reopen, and the U.S. president's concerns about Israel jeopardizing peace. Crime and punishment, how the federal government is making it tougher to get out on bail. Kids and teenagers paid to commit gun crimes.
Some of the people hiring these criminals want to create a sense of fear.
Who's behind more than 24 shootings in Canada's largest city? Plus, hopping to it, the search for Montreal's mystery marsupial.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The American president says he hopes the war the U.S. and Israel launched on Iran will soon be in the rearview mirror. But saying it and making it happen are two different things. And though Donald Trump says the Strait of Hormuz will fully reopen without tolls, there remains little detail about this preliminary agreement with Iran. Trump was talking up the agreement with world leaders at the G7 meeting in France today. A formal signing ceremony is expected on Friday in Switzerland, though as Redmond Shannon reports, serious issues, including the future of Iran's nuclear program, have yet to be negotiated.
The G7 is an exclusive club of the powerful, where guest invitations only go to the select few. At this week's summit, leaders from two major oil and gas exporters caught up in the Iran war are on the list. Qatar and the United Arab Emirates deeply invested in the outcome of peace negotiations.
This is a very important deal. There's still a lot of work to be done.
The details of the interim memorandum of understanding are not public, but the US says it involves a 60-day window where the Strait of Hormuz will open again, toll-free.
Ships are starting to move now. We're going to have it fully open by Friday.
The sticky issues of sanctions, funding of Iran's proxies and Iran's nuclear program are only set to be negotiated after the US and Iran sign this first MOU in the Swiss Alps Friday.
It says Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. That's what it says.
US Vice President J.D. Vance says the interim document is about a page and a half. The final Obama-era nuclear deal with Iran in 2015 was 159 pages long. Iran's foreign minister said again that Israel ending its military operation in Lebanon is an inseparable part of a complete end to the war. The US president today voiced more frustration with his war ally Israel, clearly concerned Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu could thwart any deal with Iran.
Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon. You don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah.
According to Lebanese state media, Israeli airstrikes killed another 4 people in southern Lebanon Tuesday. Tonight, Iran's military issued a warning saying that if the airstrikes don't stop, Israel should expect a hard response. Donna?
All right, Redmond Shannon, thank you. Canada's Prime Minister is at the G7, and in an interview with CNN, Mark Carney revealed he has seen the tentative agreement to end the war with Iran.
It's well structured. It creates, I actually think, I think it's a game changer, not just for this situation, because it starts to take off certainly this issue, but it allows us, and this is what's happened in the meeting, to step back, look anew at Ukraine.
And yet at the G7 summit, President Trump said Russia's war with Ukraine is no longer a priority for the U.S. and has no impact on the country except for selling weapons to Ukraine. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was there too and met Trump, who did say he is willing to reimpose sanctions on Russian oil. Zelensky thanked other G7 members for strong ideas on how to force Russia into peace. And Canada and the UK announced new sanctions.
Canada today is announcing an additional range of sanctions on over 160 entities focused on the Shadow Fleet, as we should. Our delivery of the latest stage of Pearl packages, air defense packages, is coming.
Trade is also a hot topic for Canada at the G7. Prime Minister Carney is continuing his effort to forge stronger relationships with countries beyond the U.S. And though no formal meeting between Trump and Carney is scheduled at the summit, the two did have a chat, and part of it was picked up by a microphone. Jillian Piper is traveling with the Prime Minister.
You gotta be careful.
It's a rare, unfiltered glimpse into the Prime Minister's relationship with U.S. President Donald Trump. Caught on a hot mic between summit sessions, Mark Carney appearing to try to reassure Donald Trump that Canada's Chinese electric vehicle deal struck earlier this year will not flood the North American market. Trump previously threatened tariffs over the agreement, but Carney's appeal seemingly landed.
I thought you'd actually like it.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc also talking trade with his American counterpart on the summit margins, but refused to give any details on the closed-door discussions.
We don't negotiate the details of these issues publicly. We agreed that we would be in touch again next week.
There is still plenty of work to do on the economic relationship, with Trump once again slamming the North American Free Trade Agreement unprompted.
It was the dumbest deal I've ever seen other than NAFTA. NAFTA maybe was even dumber.
Due to that uncertainty, Carney is also working the leaders' circuit, meeting with heads of state from India, the United Arab Emirates, and South Korea to forge stronger partnerships outside of the U.S.
Now, as like-minded countries, we are helping each other.
One key area of alignment that Carney shares with most G7 leaders is artificial intelligence regulation.
I don't know how to follow this discussion at the tonight. There's lots of issues.
Another hot mic moment caught the Prime Minister seemingly referencing some friction between Trump and the rest of the G7 on the topic, set to be discussed on Wednesday.
Maybe in the G6. Like many common approaches. Almost G7.
The Prime Minister has already cautioned that he is not expecting a mission accomplished banner after Wednesday's AI discussions, but he hopes that some progress can be made on the complex issue. Donna?
Okay, Jillian Piper, near Evian, France. Thank you. Tougher laws on sentencing and who gets out on bail in Canada are now law in this country. The long-promised reforms aim to tighten guidelines for judges and restore confidence in the justice system. David Akin explains what impact the reforms will have and some big challenges that remain.
With the adoption last night and royal assent of the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, we've taken a major step forward.
It's a step not nearly far enough for the opposition.
We need wholesale bail reform. Conservatives are committed to wholesale bail reform. The Liberals are not.
Delays in trials.
And a step in the wrong direction for people like Senator Kim Pate, an advocate for imprisoned youth and vulnerable populations.
It's often not the big actors that are being caught. It's the young people who are being recruited to do that work, who often come from impoverished backgrounds. They're often racialized kids, particularly Black and Indigenous. And so we're likely to see more of those folks in prison.
The new rules do aim to make it harder for those accused of some crimes to get bail. Those crimes include home invasions, carjackings, extortion, human trafficking, and intimate partner violence.
The Bail and Sentencing Reform Act responds to what was, at the time of my appointment to this position, the most pressing policy and political issue.
But reforming bail rules is just part of lowering crime rates. There are other issues.
Our courts are going to be dealing with a lot more contested bail hearings and bail hearings in general. So not only do you have to deal with the fact that if more people are detained, you need somewhere to put them, but you also have to deal with the fact that you need more court capacity.
The federal justice minister said he is clear-eyed about the challenges, but says the provinces support his reforms.
The long-term vision is not to incarcerate more people. It's to prevent crime from happening.
Keeping those people that are causing harm behind bars instead of released on the streets. We are well equipped in BC to handle these changes.
These new bail rules will go into effect in 1 month. Donna.
Okay, David Akin in Ottawa, thank you. Toronto police say dozens of shootings in that city, including at the U.S. consulate and several synagogues, are linked to a multi-layered guns for hire network.
Through encrypted messaging apps, young people are hired to carry out attacks against various targets. And in order to get paid, they're required to film their attacks. Who is paying for this? This is what we are trying to determine.
Police say 2 handguns seized during raids last week have been connected to 27 separate shootings. A 43-year-old Toronto police officer was shot and killed during one of those raids. 3 people have been arrested, and investigators say more arrests are expected. The federal government has tabled long-awaited legislation to ensure all First Nations communities get clean drinking water. It was a promise first made by the Liberals back in 2015, but the original legislation died last year when Parliament was prorogued. It affirmed clean drinking water as a human right. Melissa Ridgen reports on the new legislation and why it stops short of that promise.
It's an honor for me today to table C-37 this morning, the First Nations Clean Water Act. This legislation will advance the critical work of addressing long-term drinking water advisories.
11 years and $5 billion later, the Liberals say their clean drinking water promise is finally going to happen, with new legislation and another $4.6 billion.
The proposed legislation reflects more than 6 years of engagement and consultation with First Nations.
Chiefs, though, say it was a previous version of the bill that was co-developed. That bill died when Parliament was prorogued in 2025.
There's key pieces that were left out. And so certainly, the consultation on this bill was nil.
The new bill doesn't explicitly declare water as a human right.
Water is a human right. Full stop.
There are currently 38 First Nations with boil water advisories in Canada. Anishinaabe-Aski Territory in northwestern Ontario has 16 of them.
You cannot imagine it unless you've lived it.
The water treatment plant in Pekanjikam struggles to produce enough water to fill community bins where 4,000 people haul water home in pails, while Nishkantika has been under a boil water advisory for 30 years.
Communities need reliable infrastructure, operational funding, technical support, and long-term investments that address the full life cycle of water and wastewater systems.
Conservative MP Billy Morin was chief of the Enoch Cree Nation, which had to boil their water for 25 years.
I see absolutely zero when it comes to a timeline from the government in this bill. There is no mention of dates other than a 5-year review.
The Assembly of First Nations meets in July to make a wish list of tweaks before Parliament debates the bill in the fall. Melissa Ridgen, Global News, Winnipeg.
A violent plot foiled. Coming up, what the FBI has revealed about a planned attack on the UFC cage match at the White House. Parts of Houston and the coast of Texas are being drenched by torrential rain. Drivers had to navigate roads submerged by flash flooding. Some were forced to abandon their vehicles. A tropical storm watch is now in place for parts of southeast Texas and Louisiana. In Southern California, drivers are being urged to slow down as firefighters battle a wildfire raging near 2 major freeways. The Shore Fire has grown to over 1,000 hectares. It's only 25% contained. Residents in some areas have been ordered to leave their homes. Officials say more than 250 emergency workers have been deployed to try to put out those fires. The FBI has revealed it foiled a plan to attack Sunday's UFC cage match at the White House. It's alleged dozens of suspects were involved, and though it's not clear how advanced the plot was, there was talk of using drones and snipers to attack the crowd. As Jackson Proskow reports, the suspects are American citizens who wanted to jumpstart a revolution.
Just days before the UFC match on the White House lawn, the FBI moved in, disrupting an alleged plot to attack the event and the crowd of high-profile spectators.
Look, it was a serious threat.
The planned attack purportedly involved drones carrying explosives and snipers on the ground. At least 5 people have been arrested so far. At least 20 others are alleged to have been involved in a planning chat on the encrypted messaging app Signal.
I'd say it was unique due to the numbers involved, the level of planning involved. Thankfully, our advanced threat interdiction unit got on top of it very early.
The first arrest happened last Wednesday in Ohio after police were contacted by the mother of a 19-year-old suspect who had allegedly purchased a large number of weapons. According to court documents, the suspect admitted involvement in planning the attack and hoped it would jumpstart a revolution in the United States. The suspects were allegedly motivated by Christian extremism and anti-Semitism, along with anti-government grievances, including the handling of the Epstein files.
I haven't heard about it, no. But I watched The attack that I watched were the fighters.
Security experts have long warned about the risk posed by drone attacks at public events.
It's clear that this is going to be a growing issue. This could be a really devastating threat for these large public events.
The FBI says it recovered thousands of rounds of ammunition, body armor, and several weapons.
We're 100% confident that we knew locations, level of planning, level of response.
Charges so far include attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. More arrests are likely in the coming days. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
Ahead, an exclusive one-on-one with a former RCMP officer concerned about Canada's ability to investigate foreign interference. A former RCMP officer recently acquitted on foreign interference charges is suing the force and CSIS, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. William Miker, an expert in financial crime, was accused of working with Chinese police to coerce a Vancouver man to return to China to face fraud charges. In an exclusive interview with Global News, Miker says his case raises questions about Canada's ability to investigate foreign interference. Jeff Semple reports.
William Miker left the courthouse with his wife last month, a free man. The former RCMP inspector was acquitted of conducting foreign interference for the Chinese government. His case, he says, should be a wake-up call.
This was a disaster from the very beginning.
Miker spent 2 decades with the Mounties. The expert in financial crime infiltrated criminal cartels by pretending to launder their money. After retiring in 2007, Miker moved to Hong Kong and started a cybersecurity firm. And he also helped clients recover stolen funds.
It's not my core business. I understand it, and I know guys, and I would just farm stuff off.
He is, in his own words, an economic mercenary.
In 2019, Miker appeared in this Australian documentary on so-called bounty hunters who track down millions of dollars stolen from China.
As long as the claim is valid, as long as we're doing everything lawful and properly, yeah, I'm a hired gun.
Miker would soon regret using that characterization. On a visit to Vancouver in 2023, he was arrested and interrogated about his work and the documentary.
You describe yourself as a gun for hire.
Police alleged Miker was working for Beijing and planned to coerce an alleged fraudster living in Vancouver to return to China.
The RCMP's national security team spent years investigating Miker, executing nearly 80 search warrants, reviewing his phone records dating back a decade, and even tapping his phone. But in the end, they came up short. The judge found that the allegations amounted to, quote, mere speculation.
So it makes me angry. And you know, Canada should be very concerned that this is the level of investigative quality that we can expect from our national police force in something as vital as national security.
Miker says he never knowingly worked for the Chinese government and believes he was the target of a political witch hunt. He points to the 2018 arrest of Chinese tech executive Meng Wanzhou in Vancouver and Beijing's detention of the two Michaels. Miker was then hired by a Chinese think tank to produce a report on Meng's case. He informed CSIS about the job offer and says the agency seemed unconcerned.
All I did was put a bullseye on my back.
CSIS later issued a government-wide espionage alert for Miker, calling him a significant threat to Canada and Canadian national interests. Several of Miker's former colleagues, including this former officer, were also implicated, but never charged. He lost his job at a security firm as a result.
Canadians need to understand that anybody in this country could be a victim of that kind of overreach.
Miker's is just the latest in a recent string of foreign interference cases to collapse before the courts.
You need really good evidence to convict someone of working for a foreign state against Canadian interests.
The Crown is now appealing the verdict, while Miker is suing CSIS and the RCMP and sounding the alarm.
We're incompetent. That's the greatest national security threat.
Jeff Semple, Global News, Toronto.
Next, on the lookout for a rogue roo near Montreal. If you spotted one in the wild in Australia, it would be no big deal. But when residents in a Montreal suburb saw what looked like a kangaroo, they were baffled. It was hopping through gardens and across fields until officers from the Environment Ministry managed to get the jump on the mystery marsupial. Mike Armstrong reports.
At first, she thought she was dreaming. Last Friday morning, working on her garden, Lise Chevalier realized an animal had come up behind her just a few meters away. She says she knew what it looked like, but didn't think it was possible. She says when she saw it jump and saw its little arms, she knew it was a kangaroo. Now, her visitor jumped over her garden and was gone in seconds, disappearing into the fields. Chevalier says when she told her son, he asked about her meds, but there have now been days of sightings. Over the weekend, a nature photographer was able to get close enough for some photos of an animal that belongs about 15,000 kilometers away. Experts believe it's a red kangaroo native to Australia. Now, how did it get from the other side of the planet to a field east of Montreal? An animal protection group says it got a tip last week a local farm had a kangaroo, but before it could finish its investigation, the animal either escaped or was let go. The group says it could have caught the kangaroo over the weekend, but was told by the Ministry of Wildlife if it did, it would be fined $5,000.
It's a shame that the ministry does nothing. That's a real shame, actually. I don't know why we're paying these guys, and you can quote me on that.
Well, the ministry did finally find and tranquilize the animal Tuesday evening. It was taken by ambulance to a zoo, one that has other kangaroos already and is accustomed to their care. Chevalier, meantime, goes back to not wondering if she's having a very strange dream. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Boucherville, Quebec.
That is Global National for this Tuesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Your Canada is going global again this week. We have pictures of Canadian pride sent in from all over the world. Tonight, we're showcasing Veradero, Cuba, Caba, Philippines, and the Sydney Opera House in Sydney, Australia. Please keep them coming. Send your pictures of Canadian pride from wherever you are to globalnational@globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.